sexually abused them, and they had the children. And if you look at the history of Thomas Jefferson, and you know that all of the slave that he had, his children by her, all of them are buried on his, right there on the gravesite in Monticello, right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. These are people that he recognized years ago. Just like Strong Thurman didn't recognize his daughter, but in the end, he had to, because she did come out and say that he was her father, and she had documentation of what he had done for her while she was in school. So, like, passage, the rite of passage is every day. That's what that means. Every day when you get up, that rite of passage means that I have to learn something different today that I didn't know yesterday. That's what that is all about. Always remember that. Learning, not the slavery. The past teaches us what our future should be like. You use your past as a learning tool, and you go from there.
I heard that some like Walter White passes, you get information about hate crimes.
Yes. You got a lot about the hate crimes, about the Ku Klux Klan that's still in existence today. If you go down, used to go down 95, going down to FEB by Goldsboro, you see the sign that says Heart of Ku Klux Klan Territory. That's a reality. And it's very much prevalent today, the skinheads, all of that. That is when I say that the prejudice that still exists is still there. We have to be very vigilant and doing better than what our parents did. And if you all remember what, I don't know if Malcolm X said this or not, but the only way that we can really be an independent race when we become a financial part of that, when we have ownership in businesses, when we control those finances, then people will look up to us and respect us as a race, and not the way they do today. And that's what you all need to understand. Finance, ownership. You look at every race, and you look at where we stand. And one of the things that we have to stop doing, we have to stop being like crabs in a barrel. When one member of our race get up, we cannot hold them down. That's one of the things that we have to learn to do. We have to enjoy what another person does. And not because we're not doing it, because of what they have achieved.
I heard some people pass just about getting jobs.
Yes, that's true. That's true. My cousin worked in New York for years until he retired. They had no clue that he was black. He worked in Macy's. He did the mannequins and everything in the windows in New York City when blacks did not have an opportunity to get those jobs. And that's why he did that. He said, they didn't ask me and I didn't tell them.
Tell us more about your experiences growing up in the South.
Oh my gracious. We still live in a rural community. It's farming. It's a farming area. And years ago when we went to school, and we used to farm, school would start in July. And then we would go until October. Then we would be out of school to harvest the crops from October to November. And then we would be back in school. Well, eventually, when everybody started moving and the farming was not what it used to be, people moved away and they changed it. Everybody went to school in August. We had to go to school in August, but when it came time for harvest, we had to be there to harvest that crop. We had to make sure that was done. And it did not make a difference that we were missing school. Our father told us and our sisters that because you're not in school, there's no excuse for you not to do your work. That is not acceptable. We still had to keep up with our work. We used to pray for rain so that we could go to school. But that was a learning experience. We never turned our backs on anything. And I look at us, I finished high school at 16. I worked a year in New York so that I could save money to go to school. I worked to pay my way through school. When I sit up and hear young people saying, how am I going to go to college, I should do it the same way I did. Work. You work in the summer, you save your money, and then you put it back, you do an investment, and you work on the campus when you come back in the fall. Those are things that are still available. That's something you don't have to reinvent. Parents don't, you don't need that designer shoes, designer dress, designer jeans, designer pocketbook. Those are material things. Look for quality in something else and the type of life that you want to lead. That's what you want to remember. And growing up as the youngest of 9, and we had 3 foster brothers, my father said that if you had 9, you could take on 3 more. And I can never remember a day, my sister used to say, even during the Depression, that we didn't have food. We always had plenty. I can never remember a Sunday growing up or during the week when we didn't have someone at the house at the table with us. And everybody had to sit down at that table and eat. You did not walk with food in your hand. You sat at your table. And before our mother passed in 1952, if you want the quick hand to hit you, you get up before you had finished eating. You did not do that. That was not allowed. And even though, you know, I look at my brother, my youngest brother, my older siblings didn't have the opportunity that the last 4 of us had because it was not there for them. But in their own way, they were successful in what they did. But I remember when my brother became the supervisor of science in Durham County. He was the only black supervisor at that time. And I remember when he was doing evaluations of one of the science teachers that he had. And he had had several people who had been working years for this lady to get better. And she refused to get any better. She wasn't changing. So he recommended for her not to be rehired. Well, lo and behold, everything broke out that he was a racist. Mind you, he's black and she's black. But no one understood that she was denying those children an opportunity to learn when she did not try to improve her methods of educating those students. That's what she was there for. And I remember my sister Mildred, when she was in nursing school, she had to go and take a chemistry exam because she almost didn't graduate because we graduated from a non-accredited high school, which means that we had to take all types of tests to get into college. And it is very important for young people to understand that when we go through middle stakes in the school district, that we must pass that. Otherwise, your children do not get into those top-notch schools. That is a fact. And I remember my sister Carolyn, she had passed the test to go to the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. And she was not accepted because she was black. But she didn't let that deter her. She became the first assistant director, non-agent of the FBI. And she retired in 2001. She stayed retired 6 months and 3 months and went back to work president of a company called MTOS Technology. And they made the top 50 fast-growing small companies in less than 2 years' time. And it became a multi-million-dollar company, and she retired from that, I think it was 3 years ago. So I'm just saying that to let you know that even though all of us went through the same thing, none of us allowed whatever went through not to let us know that we can do better than what was put before us. And we were an example. Our nieces and nephews today tell us that we were the example that they followed, that we were the reason that they went to college and they wanted to be a success. Because if we could do it during the times when things were so hard and there was so much racial prejudice, then they could do it at better times. And they did, all of them. And their sons and their daughters are doing very well. And they're taking advantage of the scholarship at North Carolina State, the Gatlin Scholarship. If you have the last name of Gatlin, you can apply. You got the grades, you can go maintain your grades. You get most of your education paid for free. So, you know, these are things, it used to be just males, but finally they changed it to females as well. So, but this is part of being recognized over the years that we, even as African Americans, are part of that heritage that George Gatlin from the Gatlin gun made possible for all of this money to be available for the students at North Carolina State, and we can take advantage of it. But whether it's at North Carolina State or whether it's at Rutgers or any other institution, look at what's there for you. And if you don't have the grades right now, go to a community college, pull it up, do the Commissioner Scholarship, do the New Jersey Stars, finish up your education in 2 years at a regular college, your junior and senior year, you don't pay for anything. That's available. That's what our education taught us. And one other thing, when 1964, the Voting Rights Act passed, I have never missed a vote since I became a registered voter. You know, and at 71, it really is an honor to stand here and see the young people, the way that you all are asking questions, that you have really researched what you are asking. And that's important, and that's the key to learning. Use your computers as a knowledge, not as to play games and everything.
Do you have any personal experiences that you would like to share with us?
Well, I just became a proud grandmother. I was January the 7th, Vernon Aiden, little boy, and he was a month old on last Thursday. And I'm waiting so I can just spoil it rotten a little bit more, and then I can send it back home to the parents. But one of my proudest moments was when I was elected to the council of the county, Union County, which is not something that most African Americans really do, and recognized by the Community Access Unlimited as Educator of the Year, working with handicapped and disabled students and students who are wards of the state. You don't shy away from difficult students. You don't shy away from difficult children. You try to show them that there's a different way that they have to approach things and try to make a difference in their life. And even today, I'm working at Irvington Alternative High School, and the students are very difficult, but you still take that and you try to teach them. You turn this around, and you be the best that you can be. And if you all are in Livingston Mall on Tuesday, February the 12th, please come out and see the gospel choir sing. And this is the first time that the Alternative High School has had any participation in anything like this. So we're trying to show the students that they do count and they do have value.
Thank you for the information.